Hey guys, welcome back to Aviation Explainer today. Today we'll be discussing the Qatar Virgin Australia Alliance obtains interim ACCC nod. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you. Hey guys, so essentially what the ACCC has said is that Qatar and Virgin can proceed with selling airline tickets and people will be able to fly on them from June of next year or June 2025. But it's just a temporary approval, and then that will be discussed further because of Virgin and Qatar said we want an answer. Can we do it or can we not do it? Because they want to be able to start selling tickets to make money. And yeah, so essentially this is from the report. The Australian Competitive and Consumer Commission, or the ACCC, has granted authorisation allowing Virgin Australia and Qatar Airways to start marketing and selling an additional 28 weekly flights, scheduled return flights between Doha and Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth and Sydney, over and above what Qatar Airways already operates. Virgin Australia intends to start flying its new Australia to Doha services from Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane in June 2025 and wet leasing aircraft from Qatar Airways, with Perth services to follow in November. Wet leases are part of the broader proposed relationship that will see Qatar take a 25% stake in Virgin Australia. Qatar Airways is currently operating the maximum number of weekly flights allowed under to Australia under the existing bilateral air services agreement. Virgin already co-chairs on these flights and other Qatar services beyond Doha. A bid by Qatar Airways to secure additional flights to Australia last year was unsuccessful, and the current proposal is viewed as a tidy sidestep to these obstacles. The ACCC interim authorisation is a significant milestone that reflects strong consumer and broader public benefits and integrated alliance. Virgin Australia Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer Alistair Hartley said, we consider that granting the interim authorisation now will allow Qatar Airways and Virgin Australia the lead time to undertake the necessary planning and discussion and marketing, selling the system and alignment in preparation for Virgin Australia to commence flying the new services by June 2025, said the Commission Deputy Chair Michael Keir when announcing the interim approval on November 29th. We are pleased to be helping Australia launch these new services to Qatar and creating business opportunities for our travel trade partners, said Qatar Airways Chief Commercial Officer Tahiri Antonori. We will continue working closely with Virgin Australia to progress and remain regulatory approval. A public consultation process resulted in 27 submissions. The partnership was broadly supported by the travel industry, airports, which welcomed the prospect of additional capacity, while aviation labour groups raised concerns about the 100% Qatari crews that would be operated for the Virgin Australia flights. The proposed acquisition of wet lease raises significant concerns about the fairness of competition, the integrity of Australia's bilateral air services agreement, and the broader implications of the Australian aviation workforce and industry, says the submission from the Australian and International Pilots Association. Our view is that the investment in proposed wet leasing aircraft from Qatar Airways enables Virgin Australia to recommence long-haul international flights, will have a positive impact through increased competition and flight capacity, which will put downward pressure on airfares, a submission from Cancel, the Australian tour operators, says. We are carefully considering the concerns and the interested parties have raised, particularly around the wet lease arrangements and the impacts of proposed exclusivity arrangements between Virgin Australia and Qatar Airways, said Keir. The ACCC says the new services will be offered subject to the final regulatory approval after interim authorisation usually results in the authorisation, which would be valid for 5 years. Qatar's proposed investment in Virgin Australia also remains subject to approval from the Australian Foreign Investment Review Board. Thank you everyone for staying tuned for today's episode. This is another update on what's going on with the Qatar Virgin tie-up. Thank you for listening.